My philosophy of classroom management is ultimately based on student engagement. If the student's interested in what they're learning, then they're going to be engaged. And when they're engaged, they're less likely to be causing classroom management issues. I think that issues arise, for the most part, out of boredom. When students are bored, they're more likely to be chatting with their friend and having off-task behavior. So if I can engage all of my students so that I can prevent the classroom management issues from happening in the first place, that would be my ultimate goal. My biggest challenge, I would have to say, would be differentiated instruction. In the real world, you don't have a classroom of 25 students all at the same level. You've got students who are excelling in some areas and struggling in others, and vice versa. You've got learning disabilities, behavioral issues, social issues, multiple intelligences that you have to cater to. So I think engaging everybody in your classroom all at the same time to prevent those classroom management issues from arising, I would say, is my biggest challenge. Anticipating this challenge in my own classroom is definitely something I foresee. However, in placement, I think it's a little bit different because, for example, out on placement, by the time I really got to know my students and know what their needs were, where they were struggling, where they were excelling, and how I could best serve them as a teacher, placement was almost over. So in the real world, when I actually have the opportunity to get to know my students and implement strategies that can best serve their learning, I think that I'll have a better handle on the differentiated instruction. How will I structure my classroom environment to prevent the classroom management issues? There's a number of things I plan on implementing. For one, implementing the idea of parallel tasks. So, for example, if I pose a mathematical problem, I'm going to have students that don't get it and they check out. I'm going to have students that get it in 2 seconds and they also check out. When these students at both ends of the spectrum check out, they're more likely to start chatting with their friends and disrupting the students who are trying to do their work. So if I can have parallel tasks in place so that everybody's engaged for the same amount of time, that would be an awesome goal. So how I plan on implementing these parallel tasks. So for that mathematical problem that I pose, if the student's just not getting it, I would suggest try the problem without the constraint, okay? And then try the problem with the constraint. And then for those students who need that extra intellectual stimulation, try the problem with an additional constraint or even a third constraint if need be. Then what I like about the idea of parallel tasks is with this mathematical problem, everybody in the entire classroom is working on the same problem. So they're just working on it. They're just working on it in maybe a little bit different in each case. But what's nice is I'm delivering this differentiated instruction in an inclusive way. So I'm not excluding anybody and saying, you do this problem and you do this problem. They're all working on the same thing. So they have the opportunity to collaborate with each other and help each other. But yet it's addressing the differentiated needs of the students. So they're more likely to be engaged for the time period I want them to be engaged in, and that's a means of preventing the classroom management issues from happening. I think the prevention is key, because if I can prevent the classroom management issues from happening, then I never have to worry about intervention. Intervention is something that I don't want to have to face unless it's necessary. If intervention is necessary, I like the idea of having a class meeting and addressing the issues, having a meeting, sitting at eye level with the students and really asking them what I'm doing wrong, what I can do differently to better serve them. But ultimately, prevention is key. Another way that I'm going to structure my classroom to prevent classroom management issues from happening would be physically, the way that I arrange the desks. I would like to create a classroom that fosters collaboration and interactive problem solving. I really, however, do not like the idea of students in groups, because in groups, they're usually with their friends. They're more likely to be chatting with their friend who's across from them. What I really like is the U-shape. So I've got this classroom that's conducive to collaboration, but they're not sectioned off in their private groups where they can be having conversations and having off-task behavior. What's also nice is I can see my students' faces. I can see who's checked out. I can see who's frustrated and totally gets it. And it's also preventing a lot of chatter because they're less likely to chat if they're looking right at me. Another means of preventing classroom management would be maintaining a relationship of mutual respect, which I think is so important. If I can establish this relationship of mutual respect, they're more likely to listen to me and care what I have to say. So maintaining this relationship of mutual respect is of utmost importance.